NCAA basketball totals for Thursday, January 26th. This is a segment where we look at totals by oddsmakers set in NCAA basketball, and we try to beat that total either over or under the total. We have our NBA segment out there as well. That's actually a video today, not live. We're going to continue the live segment next week when I get done traveling a little bit. And this is a segment in which has been going pretty well so far this season overall. When we look at our percentages, we're hitting about 54% of our plays in NCAA hoops. So let's see if we can continue to do that today. We just have 2 plays on the card, decent amount of games today, but there's only 2 that really jumped out at me. And the first one we're going to look at here is Virginia Tech and North Carolina. Later, we're going to look at the second game on the slate is Washington State at Arizona. Before I continue, though, don't forget SBRpicks.com, YouTube channel, Facebook page, Sportsbook Review, all the sign-up bonuses. You got to check it out. And all the picks are free. Don't forget to check out our other handicappers as well. And let's get down to some totals. All right, so that Virginia Tech, North Carolina, we're going to ACC. Buzz Williams. Who doesn't like him? That guy's awesome. What a great coach. Got Buzz versus Roy Williams here. 164.5 set by oddsmakers, and I'm going over. This is going to be an absolute track meet. And also, now, mind you, Buzz Williams at Virginia Tech, he brings a different dynamic than we've seen in years past. They go really up-tempo. North Carolina, they've always been up-tempo. And this 164.5, this is the biggest total we have between these two teams. I have statistics back to 2004. They've never had a total this high, 164.5. The last one they had was 160.5. That was last year, in which North Carolina won at Virginia Tech 75-70. Prior to that, they had a 68-53 and 68-53. That was back in 2015. Okay, but last year is the one we want to focus on because then we had the same coaches. Did a little different personnel. Virginia Tech's not bad this year. But that was 160.5. And instead of odds makers keeping it around there, they're not messing around. They went right for the jugular. 164.5. But let's look at some statistics here and why I think it goes over. First of all, Virginia Tech can flat out score, and they can get up and down. They're averaging 81.5 points per game. They're ranked 26th in the country in scoring offense, and they're averaging almost 59 attempts per game. That's fast. North Carolina, they're averaging 67.4 attempts per game. They're ranked 3rd in attempts. Absolutely getting up and down the floor. And Virginia Tech has no problem. They actually allow more attempts than they get up themselves at about 62 per game. North Carolina, they want to push tempo. They're allowing 71.2 points per game. That ranks 140th in the country, but they're still really good because they can flat out score. North Carolina, they're averaging 88.7 points per game. They rank 3rd in the country in scoring. So it starts to make sense why odds makers will set this total so high. I think they get there. I think this goes over 170. Virginia Tech, they're shooting 48.7% from the floor. They're ranked 21st in the country in shooting percentage. North Carolina, good statistics across the board. They're shooting 47%. They can shoot the three, 37.5% from distance. So can Virginia Tech, 38.4%. If North Carolina wants to get up and down, Virginia Tech probably could stay within the number. That's a pretty good Virginia Tech team, but it's at North Carolina, which is always a very, very tough place to win. So I'm going to go ahead and back over the totals, 164.5. I just do not see them slowing this tempo down. If they shoot to their normal percentages, they're going to go well over this total. So it'll take some for them just to be, just clanking everything to not get over. But if they can just go at their normal tempo and pace, it should get well over this total. All right, we got one more to talk about, and that's it. Just 2 today, guys. We got, quality is better than quantity. Percentage-wise, NCAA we're hitting just about 53. Excuse me, NBA we're hitting 53%. NCAA I already mentioned we're hitting about 54%. So we got a nice little profit in the NCAA hoops so far. NBA we really got to pick it up. Spreads have been pretty good for the most part. If you catch my live segment, you'll know what I'm talking about. Washington State and Arizona. Ernie Kent, Washington State. I've mentioned this before. I was watching him when he was at St. Mary's. And one thing he's always done is really not been a great defensive coach. But his teams have always been able to score. That being said, and Arizona beating UCLA, that was big. And they flat out could shoot the rock. This 142 really gives me pause. I thought it should be a lot higher. Let's look at some numbers here. Same 2 coaches. They met up twice last year. 90-66. Oddsmakers had it at 152.5. It went over. Then Oddsmakers said at 153. They went under. 79-64. Of course, Arizona won both games. I think we're going to see more like that second game. in this matchup. Now, the game is at Arizona, but this 142 gives me, you think Arizona is going to light them up. Let's take a look at Washington State's numbers here. They're not scoring as efficiently as I thought they should under a coach like Ernie Kent, who really likes to get up and down the floor. But interestingly enough, that being the case and seeing him historically, I mean, just look at him as a head coach. He's never been a really solid defensive coach. They're not really scoring that well this year. So I think they're going to have a lot of trouble against that pack line defense of Arizona. That kind of, it's kind of a sloughed off man-to-man. Washington State's averaging just 69.5 points per game. More surprisingly, though, they're averaging just 55.4 attempts. That's shocking to me because Ernie Kent likes to push tempo. That is, sorry, I'm caught off guard because I checked these statistics earlier, but it's still, just looking at it, really surprised me. I thought he would push more tempo, but he's not. And so I don't see him getting there. Then you got Arizona. They're getting up just 55.5 attempts. So we got two teams averaging just 55 attempts per game. How do they get to the 142? I don't know. Arizona would have to shoot lights out, and Washington State would somehow have to shoot better than their 44.7% on the season. Arizona could flat out score, and they're going to be able to name the score of this game. Defensively, they've been fantastic. They're allowing opponents to shoot just 39.8% from the floor. That ranks 27th in the country. Defensively, they rank 16th and 22nd, respectively, in opponent shooting efficiency and effective field goal percentage. Washington State, not very good, but they are allowing opponents to shoot 44.5% overall. That still ranks outside the top half of NCAA teams, but it's not the worst. So they should be able to get enough stops to keep us under this 142. So I'm going to go back under this total. There's a lot more to talk about this game. This game really fascinates me because the matchup, just from a matchup standpoint. I know it doesn't seem like it should be fascinating, Washington State and Arizona, but that's why I do this, because I find interesting points in games that nobody cares about. Unless you're an Arizona or Washington State fan. All right, let's go ahead. Let me change one quick thing here on my write-up. And let's break it down one last time. Quick one. We got Virginia Tech, North Carolina over the 164.5. Washington State, Arizona under the 142. Those are our two NCAA picks. Be sure to check out our NBA video. We'll be back live with that next week. SBRpicks.com, YouTube channel, Facebook page, Sportsbook Review. And I wish you luck on your picks today.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.